Hello and welcome to that Eurovision site, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. My name is Jazzy, my pronouns are she, her, and I am doing very well today. And joining me today is.
Hi, I'm Stuart. Very happy to be on call with you today.
Okay. So today we will be talking through our thoughts on the Irish selection, Eurosong 2023. Not to be confused with Belgium's selection, they are named the same thing. We don't know why. The show aired on RTE's flagship Friday night talk show, The Late Late Show. Eurosong 2023 was won by Wild Youth with their song We Are One, and they will now represent Ireland in Liverpool in May. I guess my first question is, what are your thoughts on Wild Youth's song and your thoughts on their win?
I like the song. I like it more and more the more I listen to it. I think it is a good pick for Ireland. I do like the song. I think we are due an Irish boy band moment at Eurovision. It's been a while, so I think if they're going to send a boy band, then I think they've picked it well. I think the guys come across as quite likable. So I think they've done well in picking that song. The only thing someone had mentioned that it sounds like a Morrison's advert, and now every time I hear it, I do think, oh, this does sound like that Morrison. But it's really catchy, upbeat. What about you? What do you think?
I think my thoughts on Wild Youth song are I quite like it. It's very my sort of music. I think it's a nice song and I do think it's catchy. It's definitely something I would listen to on the radio. I do think in the context of Eurovision, it could be a little bit safe, but that doesn't stop the song being enjoyable and doesn't stop me from the fact that I like it. I have seen tweets from Connor from What You saying that the song will possibly be revamped a little bit for Eurovision, which I think is a good thing. So my opinion
Absolutely.
on that may change over time. I do think the boys have great personality and I do love their enthusiasm for the contest because like throughout the last year they've been like tweeting about doing the national final in Ireland. So they do have like enthusiasm to represent Ireland. So I do like that. And I do think they will be really good representatives for their country. So I think overall this was a pretty good pick for Ireland.
Yeah, I think we've done well with that pick.
So I guess my second thought is how well can Wild Youth do at Eurovision? Because in recent years, Ireland have not been qualifying for the final. I think the last time they qualified was 2018. So
It's been a while.
it's been a while. So how well can this do at Eurovision?
That's a really good question, and one that's going to be on our mind next couple of months until we get a result. I think it's very much on the bubble. The more I hear it, the more I like it. Obviously, at Eurovision, you've only got you're in your semi. If you get through to your semi, you've got at most two performances for most people. I think it's on the bubble. It's in the easier semi, so it only has to be five other countries. But then I could see it finishing 11th, 12th in the semi, and that would be a shame. I think what they need to do is if they can get the performance right, and when they did the reprise on Friday, that was very energetic, and I thought that was a better performance of the song. If they can kind of match that, maybe I don't know how they're going to stage it. That's the big question. Uh, Probably don't throw too much at it. You could go overboard, but I think it's going to need to be eye-catching. The good thing, like we've said about them, is they come across as quite likable and quite friendly, and they did look to be enjoying themselves when they did the performance on Friday. So if they can recreate that in Liverpool, they could qualify, but they're by no means a dead cert. I think I would say it's more likely to qualify than not. However, it could finish 11th, it could finish 12th, in that semi, and then be out. We'll just have to see what everybody else does in that semi as well. So time will tell. What do you think?
I have seen a lot saying this won't qualify. I definitely like by no means for me think this is dead in the water. I think it can qualify. It's very catchy, and to me, it's actually quite memorable because they're quite memorable in their performance. So I think they show a lot of personality, and I think when we remember this is a tally vote, the semis are a tally vote only, so their personalities will catch on to the viewers, and I do think the viewers will like them, and I do think the viewers will then be like encouraged to pick up the phone and vote for them. Um, I actually think with only 7 songs confirmed so far, it's actually really, really hard to determine how well they're actually going to do in the contest until we see like what the field is like, say when we have 20 songs or 30 songs, then I think we'll have more of a thought of how well they could do. Although I do think Ireland do have a decent shot at making the final this year, although I said that last year without Brooke, who was very, very robbed, I must say. Brooke should have made the final because That's Rich is a banger and is still in my top 5 for 2022. So
We might have different views on that one.
um so obviously there was 5 other songs in this
There
selection.
was.
What were your thoughts on the other songs in the selection? Were there any that you liked more so than this song?
To be fair, I mean, despite the show itself, it was actually a stronger field than we've had from Ireland. I think there was a good few songs in there that I liked. Connolly, who came second, a massive respect to her, young lassie, and she's managed to come second. I think she's got a good future ahead of her. I think we could see her back at some point. That was a really nice song. It just hit a really good spot. Um, going into the final, before the show, I was really excited about I forgot the name of it now. Rain,
Down
help
in
me
the
out.
Rain.
Down in the Rain. There we go. I was really excited about that song. I thought the boys did a really good job there with what they had. Maybe it could have been, sung better, but they did a really good song, and coped well with this the kind of show was an anchor around. I think we're going to talk about this later, but it was a kind of anchor around most of the acts next. But I was really excited about that. They could have went to Eurovision. I think they could have done a good job. So there was 2 other songs in there that if Connolly had won, or if Kay Monday had won, um, that they would have been good picks as well. Um, a song that got stuck in my head was Wild. Um, sh I thought that was a really good song. It was just a shame. She did seem kind of nervous in her performance, but that was a really good song as well. And then the other two, RJ, not my thing at all. I didn't. I thought it was just really repetitive and it didn't go anywhere for me. It wasn't really saying anything. And then the big story of the night for a lot of people was Public Image Limited, who were back in action with Johnny Rotten. Uh, I I actually there's stuff on Public Image in the 80s. It's a song called Rise, and this is not a love song. They were actually the art songs that I like. So when I heard there was in it, I was like, and then I heard the song, and it was just so disappointing. It's kind of a conflated one because the story behind the song was quite powerful and really it did hit the spot. But I just feel that it was just a bad song and it wasn't sung well. But what I will say is, if for Eurovision, I don't know why you brought this to Eurosong. I don't think it would have done anything at Eurovision. Uh, but in terms of if he was going to release this as a single and dedicate it to his wife, um, yeah, that would have been lovely. But um, it is a lovely song. In terms for that reason, is a dedication to her, she's suffering from Alzheimer's, and uh, so there was a real emotion behind it, but it was just fell flat. That it didn't get perked up at all on the stage, and but yeah, that was one of the bigger stories from the night. But I'm not surprised that that wasn't a contender.
So I think
How about you? What were your thoughts on that?
So I think for me, there was other songs in the selection I did enjoy. I thought Midnight Summer Night by Connolly was haunting, and I think for me it would have been a very interesting choice for Ireland. I think it would have been a bit more interesting than what they picked because it was just so different. It has this dark indie Lana Del Rey vibe that I think a lot of viewers do really, really like, especially a lot of the younger Euro fans that I see on Twitter. They kind of like that sound, like, 'cause it's quite modern. It's just like very today, and I think could have been a very interesting choice for Ireland. I also really liked K Money and ND's Down in the Rain. I thought the lads were having the best time on stage, and it was nice to see another part of Ireland's culture be represented on the Late Late Show because typically the songs are not very diverse on the Late Late Show. I thought Aji's song was fine. Layla's song was fine. I'm not surprised they didn't do very well because I just think they were a little bit understated compared to like the other three. And then I'm going to not comment on Public Image Limited because I don't want to be too negative. And there you
That's fair.
go. But yeah, it just seemed like it was a decent show for Ireland compared to the national finals we've seen from them in the past. So I think we're just going to get a tiny bit into the format because there's been a lot of discourse. What are your thoughts on the Late Late Show as a whole?
So, where do we start?
On the
Um,
selection
ju-
process.
you know what? Fair enough. If their reason for it is this, I heard the head of delegation mention in the past that the RT aren't going to give them the funds to do anything bigger than this, and that this is the scope of what they can do. What I don't get is, you know, the other broadcaster that does Junior Eurovision is a smaller broadcaster, T4G, TG4,
TG4.
that's a smaller broadcaster, and they're able to put on a bigger show for the junior contest. Um, it was like I said earlier, it was an anchor and the acts, because on the whole, sick, fairly decent song, better songs from Ireland, but I don't think any of them were helped by this format doing it on the chat show, just in a studio, not a prop, not a proper stage. I mean, it worked. I guess it worked for them for a while. I mean, that's the Late Late Show was used to select Neve Kavanagh in 2010, and then we had Jedward. But it's fallen apart since then. They opted to go to internal selections, and I did have a thought. Oh, should they have done that? Should have saved themselves the grief and just have done an internally selected one of these acts, and then they wouldn't have the flack for the production. But I thought I'd rather have these songs showcased. Well, most of them anyway. I'd rather have these songs showcased than not. So if that's what they're going to do, I guess it's just a bit uninspiring, and other countries are doing much more exciting things. And I think the show felt just a bit flat. It wasn't a high production level, and I'm not a huge, for me, I'm not a huge Jedward fan at all. Uh, so having them comment on all the performance, but like, really, do we want to hear? Some people do. I'm not one of those people, but yeah, right. Let's see. I think they'll come back. I think this is going to be the format. I think this will be what they use next year. If they can get the songs on a bit of a higher level, then maybe that'll make up for it. But I don't have high hopes for Ireland, turning around this patch of bad record at the moment. So we'll see. Time will tell. What about you? What did you think of that production
Oh
performance?
God. It's a tough one. I know Ireland have the Irish Eurofans and the Irish head broadcaster has wanted a national final in its own right for years, but the broadcasters themselves just won't give them budget for it. I do think it's really hard to judge these songs live performances in such a small, compact studio where they can't stage anything and the acoustics are horrible, so nobody sounds good. I personally don't like having the panel either, and I'll tell you why. In Eurovision, it just wouldn't happen. I don't like a panel in any national final, because it just doesn't happen at Eurovision, and I do think it skews how the public will vote, and especially when that panel has no say either. Though that panel didn't even have a vote. Like in Lithuania, they have a vote. In Belgium, they have a vote. So at least you got like some representative of how they're gonna vote. In Ireland, they don't even have a vote. Like, why are they there? Like, I don't understand. But I guess Ireland are a bit like the UK, where they kind of like their TV shows to be a bit dramatic. But these panel criticisms weren't even slightly mean. And I don't know, having like past like Eurovision acts. I think it actually puts the like if you've done Eurovision yourself, like Jed would have done, I actually think it puts them in an uncomfortable position as well because it's like they've been there, they've done it, they know what they're going through. The last thing that I think that someone like Jed would have actually wanted to do was criticize others when they've been through that experience themselves. So I don't know, I just don't like it. I don't like, I just wish RTE would give Ireland its own national final outside of the Late Late Show. As clearly it's starting to work for Junior Eurovision for Ireland. Like, I don't know why, like, the main broadcaster doesn't like build on what TG4 are doing. Also, because the Late Late Show is a commercial show in Ireland, you're not really gonna get any songs that are like experimental or anything like that. It's always going to be quite generic because and quite safe. Because I've listened to some of like Wild Youth's discography and it's actually really, really good. I do feel if they'd have been selected internally, I think we'd have got like a lot better song out of them. Especially as they wanted to do it anyway. So I just don't see why these guys like if they don't have the budget anyway, why didn't they just select Wild Youth internally because they want to go anyway? So there's just a
Yeah,
lot of things
fair
going through my
point.
mind right now. But that does take us to the end of this recap video. I would like to thank Stuart for joining me this afternoon. I would
Thank you
like to
for
just
having me.
remind viewers, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, That Eurovision Site, where we will have more national final recaps and interviews coming up with various artists. We have also interviewed Wild Youth, well, Connor from Wild Youth anyway. So be sure to check that out as well. And also be sure to give us a follow over at That Eurosite on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to stay up to date with all the Eurovision 2023 news and any junior Eurovision 2023 news, as we've mentioned that today, as well as following That Eurovision podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you can be notified when new episodes of the podcast come out. You can also listen to all our video content over there as well, such as recaps and interviews as we do upload them to the podcast. And I think that's all that's left for us to say now is bye.
Bye.